maybe we'll go to the last one here tomorrow. I just wanted to bring this to people because this is the Houthis, Ansar Allah, the so-called Houthis, Ansar Allah and the Yemeni Armed Forces in Yemen yesterday, launching a surface-to-air missile towards an American drone, an MQ-9 Reaper drone, which is like a $35 million, the flagship of the global drone products. It's the top of the line drone, and you can see it being hit there by what the Yemeni Armed Forces said was an indigenous surface-to-air missile and falling out of the sky. And we saw the Pentagon confirm that this was a U.S. drone knocked out of the sky, $30 million drone knocked out of the sky by Yemeni resistance, which has continued. And the Yemeni resistance said yesterday, when the U.S. vetoed the Security Council or vetoed the UN resolution, that veto meant that the Red Sea veto would continue. And this is parts of the Reaper that the Yemenis pulled out of the sea, the Red Sea, off Hodeidah. So I just wanted to bring that last video in to show you that the resistance is continuing in Yemen. We don't see what it looks like when they fire the drones. Like yesterday, Ansar Allah fired a dozen drones at U.S. warships, had to fire them out of the air because they were on their way to hit the U.S. warships. And so we don't really get videos of that. So I just wanted to bring that Ansar Allah action so people could see that these American drones are susceptible to this kind of weapon. And of course, the Americans responded by randomly bombing what they believe are surface-to-air missile installations in Yemen. So the resistance continues on Israel's southern front in the Red Sea. They're American drones. This is the second Ansar Allah drone that has been downed. They downed one in November. And they managed to catch the video of it, which for information operations is pretty incredible to get that footage and to show us this footage. And I waited. I mean, Ali, we talked about this video, and I waited for confirmation because you can't see what's on the videos, and we vet these videos as best as we can to make sure that we're showing authentic operations, and that we're not just showing these videos because the resistance released them. Yeah, just as a last point there, that's the end of the video showing the parts of the drone, which the Pentagon, presumably because people saw this, had to admit that their Reaper was downed.
John, if I can just say, those Reaper drones are weapons of terror that U.S. warlords have been using to terrorize people across the region, particularly in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, across the region, in Africa, in the Horn of Africa, across the world really for decades. So the ability of the resistance to shoot down these terror weapons is quite an extraordinary development, because the Ansar Allah states, of course, we don't have a way to independently verify this, that this was a locally manufactured anti-aircraft missile. And if that's the case, that is extraordinary, because producing a Yasin is remarkable enough, but when you're firing a Yasin at a tank that is either stationary or moving relatively slowly, that's one thing. But to fire an anti-aircraft missile at a target that is very distant and moving very fast is certainly in my view, a game-changing military development.
Yeah, it really is. But that's the thing. When in the West, when we call them the Houthis, it gives this impression that it's just this small group of people named after the leader of the group. But the Yemeni Armed Forces joined the Houthi movement, and so the Ansar Allah is a national army because the national army of Yemen joined this fight. And so they have the resources of a national army, and we've seen them use those resources. That's why the Red Sea shipping, the Americans are saying we haven't faced anything like this since World War II, when our actual warships are under attack, not tangentially, but actually under attack. Hasn't happened since World War II. And the Ansar Allah movement and the Yemeni Armed Forces have access to anti-ship missiles, surface-to-air missiles, long-range missiles. We can ask the Saudis all about that. They know all about the missile capabilities of the Yemenis. And so that's something that we're seeing.
And when I just, sorry to interrupt, but when I say that it's been used as a weapon of terror, I'm not being hyperbolic here, because I'm talking about all the attacks on wedding parties. I'm talking about the murder of an American citizen, a 16-year-old boy, 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐄𝐥𝐞𝐜, who was targeted and killed by the Obama administration in Yemen with a drone. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. We're talking about war crimes around the world. And this shoot down comes in the context of the United States sending forces to the region to protect Israel as it exterminates Palestinians. So I just want to provide that context to my comment.
Yeah, they're armed. They're armed drones. I think that that's an important thing to say to people if they're not aware of that. That the Reaper is an armed drone. It's not simply surveillance. It's a hunter-killer drone that they use. Yeah, I mean, you said it. You said it as well as it could be said. The Yemenis were the first people to experience drone attacks. They were the people who experienced what an actual blockade does to a civilian population when they were starved for 5 years under a blockade. And they're turning that knowledge, that experience, around and saying we refuse to allow the Palestinians to be blockaded. We refuse to do nothing like the world is doing about this genocide. And so I think that they should be saluted for that. And it's yeah, I think it's unfortunate that there's not another way of redressing the slow starvation of Palestinians that we're watching. It's just appalling.
Yeah, I just want to back up the point that you made, John, about Yemen and the so-called Houthis, because this is a really important point that you made, that it just by how the mainstream media in the West calling them the Iran-backed Houthis, it gives a really misleading impression. And this is not even a value judgment, right, of whether people support or don't support what the Yemeni armed forces are doing in their armed blockade of Israeli shipping in the Red Sea. It's nothing to do with that. It's just a factual matter of that this is a government. Yes, there is there is another government based in the south, but the government based in the capital Sana'a has the armed forces, like you said. The armed forces defected to the Ansar Allah movement, and now runs territory in which there's 80% of the population of Yemen. So by the mainstream media just saying, "Oh, it's the Houthis," it gives a really misleading impression as this is just sort of some armed rebel group that has a scrap of territory. This is the de facto government for most people in Yemen, for most of the vast majority of the population in Yemen, whether people in the West like that or not. That's just the factual matter.
And just to show again, because there is also an effort to diminish the significance of these things that we're seeing. I just put in the chat, Tamara, if you're able to put this story up on screen, that Egypt just announced that its fees that it earns for ships passing through the Suez Canal have declined by half. Because of the humanitarian intervention of Yemen to try to stop the genocide in Gaza. So this is an unintended, let's say, or unexpected consequence of US, British, and European support for the genocide, that this is a significant impact on global trade and shipping. And, you know, the European Union, well, first of all, let's say the Americans and the British already sent their aircraft carriers and their ships to the region in an attempt to stop this, and it had no impact. The Yemenis are continuing. And now the EU has announced that they're sending whatever boats they have, whatever ships they have. I don't think the European Union navies amount to very much, and let's see what luck they have. But the point here is that they are rushing, sending their navies in order to protect, I don't know, shipping of goods, consumer goods from China to Europe. But they have done nothing to break the 16, 17-year Israeli naval blockade of Gaza, or even longer. They don't mind a blockade that starves civilians and cuts them off from the rest of planet Earth, but you know, stop a shipping container. If only Palestinian children in Gaza were shipping containers, the European Union would be much more upset. They might send their navies to intervene. So again, it's no longer a world where the United States and the Europeans can simply impose their will anymore. Even a country like Yemen, which has been subjected to bombardment, blockade, and true savagery for a decade, is able now to fight back, just as Palestinians in Gaza are still fighting almost 5 months after the US-backed Israeli army, with all the weapons in the world, all the most sophisticated and powerful weapons, went at them with everything they have. So what I'm saying is that it's no longer a foregone conclusion what the outcome of engagements with a superpower will be.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, this is the Yemeni Armed Forces didn't operate in this way previously. This is a result of the outcome of the domestic situation in Yemen. So, but if this was 15 years ago and they did have that capability, maybe they would have started this blockade, trying to end the blockade before it was begun in Gaza. That has just become completely normalized. And all the things that we talk about in Gaza, the dismantling of all the civilian infrastructure, this has been going on since, you know, at least 2005. The hospitals, you know, if Dr. 𝐤𝐿 was talking to us 5 years ago, he would be talking about the impact of the blockade on the hospitals. So this dismantling has come on after the brutality of the blockade on Gaza that's been going on for half a generation now.
Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit like, leave a comment. These engagements help us with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps us to get around Silicon Valley censorship as much as possible. It does make a difference. You can also support our journalism by going to electronicintifada.net and clicking on donate now. Thank you.